Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Caffeine Encrypted and we're back with Endzone. It had the DLC released out recently called Distant Places, which adds a few interesting things into the game. And I realized that I've only covered one of the scenarios, so my goal is to cover all of the scenarios with those changes and see what has changed and what's the state of the game now. So let's delve right into it. Let's go into a new game, scenarios. So there is a bunch of them and some of them seem to be linked to others. So I'll start from the very end and work my way up. So we're gonna start with Rome wasn't built in a day. Ever since they left the Endzones, the people have been wandering around restlessly. Settlements are founded, towns fall into decline and the inhabitants move on. But you have bigger things in mind. You want to create a city that stands the test of time. That becomes the new established center of the world. So for this mission we need to survive 250 seasons, so this is more of an endurance sort of run. Settings, I don't want to change anything, I want to keep everything as is, but on the map there is a little bit of a preview here, so I'm just gonna hit randomize a couple times and see one that I kind of like. So there's a few, so this will be a bit of a narrow path and then it opens. What if we decrease the mountains? Will it open up a little bit? Okay, that's better. So we'll have a nice large area to expand over here and then we'll have to make our way towards the mountains and everything else to find the points of interest. I'm gonna keep this seed, settlement name we cannot change because of the scenario, so let's delve right into it.
April 21st, 2184. When I was just a little boy back then in the Endzone, my father always read something to me before I fell asleep. We didn't have that many books, but if I had my way, I always listened to the stories about ancient Greece and Rome that my father read out loud to me with a great deal of enthusiasm. So it shouldn't be surprising that the thought occurred to me one day to give something back to the world that it had lost a long time ago. An eternal city like Rome once was. Marcus Tullius Cicero once said, "The beginnings of all things are small." And just like Rome wasn't built in a day either, the center of the new world is going to need its own time to arise. Most of the settlements that have come since leaving the Endzones only last for several months to a few years. The goal meant for me is that this city we are founding today outlasts a human being's whole lifetime.
Okay. So we play the role of someone who, since a little kid, wanted to build a fabulous city, one that will stand the test of time, which is excellent. So Rome was a very interesting city, which did last for a fair amount of time. Let's see what we have around here. So we have a few scrap piles here. More scrap piles here. We have water on this side and water on this side. We'll probably start with this one. Some interesting locations to the right. Okay, I have a general idea of how I want to lay this one out. Now, what's radiation like? So this side is very radiated, so we won't start dealing with this one yet. And this side looks fairly clean for now. Okay. First things first. Need to make a few changes. They have moved a few things around, so I want roads to be built first, then I want buildings to be built, and then I want buildings to be repaired. And let's start with some roads, because roads are everything. They increase the speed that your people walk, and this game, like other games of its nature, like Bunnies and stuff like that, they're really based on proximity. So the closer you are to something, the better and more efficient you are. And this is a little trick I learned from playing Patron. You leave a little bit of space for decorations and other utilities, so it makes it look a little bit better. So we have a road. I want 2 builders. There is one thing that is extremely important during the very, very first season of the game, and that's water. So I want to deal with that immediately. So I want to put a jetty over here, and I want to get a water tower, a cistern close to it. There is the scrap in the way, which all of those need a scrap here to remove, so I won't be able to remove them yet. Not ideal, but not horrible either. I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the cistern over there, build a road and connect it, and then this will connect down with this one when it's ready. That's step 1. So that will take care of the water. Now, food will be a problem as well very soon. And one of the easiest approaches is to go with fishing. It's not the most efficient and it stops during the droughts, but at least it's a good start. And sort of consistent. Just need to find the right spot for it. There you go. I'm going to run the game on 2 speed for a little bit, so I can do a lot of the planning and everything else. So those are working. Let's look at our people. So 3 water carriers should be enough, and when the fishing area is ready we will do that. So I have 5 settlers. I'm going to use some of those gathering tasks. They only use up to 4 people, but they help pick up resources like food, lumber, herbs, scrap, pretty much everything we need at this point in time. I'm just gonna go right here to clean this up a little bit. And if you click on the flag, you can see that there are only 4 settlers that can be used for this task. For now, that's plenty. And I'm thinking towards where do I want to build my main houses, and I'll probably extend through this forest and build it right there. That's a bit of building space. So I'm gonna give the jetty some priority. The good thing is here you can see the paths people take. So if you pay attention, you can see what is delaying them or which ones are too far from their homes or from services and stuff like that. So that's definitely something we're going to do a lot, especially early in the game, to try to optimize the routes as much as possible. Also, I'm not going to start putting a lot of things down, because every time you place the plan for a building, the game automatically reserves those resources, and it makes it harder to build the things you want without messing with the priorities. Going to give them 2 more builders. I want to prioritize the cistern, and you are going to operate in this area. So the area of effect pretty much tells this cistern, this is any building within this area you are going to interact with that you can interact with. So that can be, let's have a look at the buildings. So that can be a well, a rainwater collector, an irrigation plant, another tower, the jetty or other jetties or pumping stations, anything like that. Or even if we look on logistics, water points. So there is that. We're still collecting stuff, that's okay. You will see water is a bit low because things are not ready. Something to keep in mind. This cistern only stocks 2000 water, which is not enough. It's nowhere near enough. I'm gonna use all the guys on the fishery, and I'm gonna take 2 of the builders out. Around season 8 is when we get a drought, so what I might do... Do you have any kids turning into adults? We have Ismail and Jasmine. As soon as they become adults, I'm going to set them as water carriers, just so we can have a little bit more of water capacity. And I don't need 2 builders, 1 is enough for now. That should do. They're collecting that, okay. So let's look at a few things. Let's look at our consumption. Not the big one, the small one. So, we are on season 2. During season 1, we consume 125 pieces of water. We consumed a bunch of food, and we didn't really gain much of anything besides berries and mushrooms. So at the moment we have a surplus of food for now, because population is going to explode very, very soon. So we need to have a fair amount of resources available. We utilized one of our metal tools. Okay. Keep going, guys. And let's start expanding these roads. So I need to stay conscious of the proximity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 100 out, which is very far. But when you start building things, it really is not. Hey Martin, are you happy? Are you excited? You're sort of happy. Once I get them their basic housing, food and water, my next goal is to increase their confidence. The more you increase their confidence, the better they become. So once I get into the 3rd tier, first they're gonna get a higher rate of reproduction, so more babies, so more workers, more consumption. Later they become more efficient, they live longer, and then at the last tier they become really fast, they live a lot longer. And those are all things we definitely want. Now if you go on the other side, you get the opposite. And people run away, which is definitely not what we want. So you should be able to get up to 2000 water before the drought, so that should be okay for now. Let's look at the radiation. So the radiation slowly, with rain, wind and time, moves. So this one is starting to clear up. And I have a nice forest which I do want to cut down once I plan what I'm going to do. How many people do I need working here? So I need 4 people for the fishing hut. And that's all for now. So if I want, I can just put a couple houses right next to this, so they don't have to travel that far. But that is not currently a priority. I want to build a location where people will be able to stay. So let's see, if I build 1, 2, 3 cabins, and this will still be close to this. 4 cabins. Actually, cancel building, where is it? Demolish buildings. Go away. Let's do this again, but properly. So since I have that gap, I want to maintain that gap of 1. And that should allow the housing to fit nicely as well. Nope. If I click at the right time. So I like to place them back to back. Just for aesthetic reasons, I guess. Let's extend this all the way there. Does it need to be that far? No, just a personal preference. I'll probably demolish some of these roads as I go. So if you see now I have 278 wood with 40 reserved. Once I place this house down, once I place them properly, you will see this one up to 48 because this house will require 8 pieces of lumber to be built. So that's 6. What I want to do is I want to start with 8 houses. So roughly every house gives you space for 2 adults and 3 children. The children want to move out and make their own families. But if you don't want them to keep snowballing, you need to build a shelter, which is something we will build very soon. So the ratio is kind of 8 houses to 1 shelter, and that's what we're going to work with as a starting point. Water is looking decent. Food is okay. It's not great, but it's not horrible. They almost collected what they could from this, so I'm going to tell them to move over here and continue working on this. And I want an area to establish a forest. One that I can take advantage of continuously. So, since I have the fishing hut on this side, and this is like fairly clean area for the most part, I think I'm going to utilize this for my forest. I'm gonna get a road going over there. Again, this is approximate. I'll probably move things around. I do want a forest lodge. I will start with 1 and then I will move into utilizing 2 of them, and 3 and 4. And the more we grow, the more we're going to get. We will need herbs to keep people alive, because over here you have their health, and they are prone to getting sick. I'm going to place a temporary storeroom right next to them, and that is so they can store resources next to it. What happens is, when you tell the forester, hey, I need lumber, he will go out, he will cut a tree. He will bring the tree into the forester, and then from there they will have to take it and move it into a storage so it can be utilized. If it's next door, they will just offload it right here instead of walking all the way back to the main building. So, just a little bit more efficiency. Let's connect this path, because people like to walk on paths. And here we can even store our food. So from the fishery, they will store it here. It's sort of closer than the bus wreck. We'll do a lot of optimization as we go. For now, we just need to survive. Same with decorations, they are a project for later. I also want a scrapyard. So, these buildings... So, the forester decreases the local attractiveness by 2. So that gives a penalty to any houses we put over here. We can counter that with decorations. Now, the scrapyard, on the other hand, gives an even larger penalty to attractiveness, a -4. So I do want that to be somewhere relatively close to the base, but not too close to start messing with those. The radius you see is the area it works in, and you can reallocate that. But if you want to see the penalty it does, you just go down here to location attractiveness, and the yellow circle is what it will influence. So if I put it close to these houses, they will be unhappy. If I put it somewhere over here, no one will really care. And that leaves me a bit of space up here, so I can put a couple houses just to get the fisherman, the hut, and the lodge to work without any issues. Now that I remembered, I also want a gatherer's cabin, so we can get some food, because food is good, food is great. Where do I want to place you? Yeah, right about here will do, just so we can have a bit of branching off for the road. And also, we want a hunting lodge. These are not the best sources of food, but they are helpful early on, and they have other little perks that we can take advantage of as we play. So I'm just gonna box this in. You don't have to, just a personal preference. We still have a bit of resources, but we're about to run out of scrap. If you see, we have 179 reserved out of our 192, so that is already reserved for construction. If I start placing more things, it will tell me you don't have enough. How are we going? Water is about to hit 2000, so we are a bit early to deal with the drought. That's okay, that's good. Very, very good. I will give them one builder. I'm trying to keep enough settlers because you need them to move resources around. It's critical. And these guys are picking resources from here, which is good. So the first thing I'm really going to need is scrap. So I'm gonna prioritize this building. I'll tell them build this next. And I'm gonna change its work area. So I want to get those things away from my forest and clear it up and reclaim a lot of this building space. So I'm just gonna move it over here. I could start next to it to get a lot of this stuff, but that's okay. Now, my forest, actually over there, it's perfect. I can move it a little bit right here, maybe up a little. So it will replant trees and cut trees from this section. The hunting lodge, same thing, I'll just try to match it. Because the more trees you have, the more production these buildings have. Okay, that should be all. We have a maximum amount of water. Now, you can never have too much water. So I want to build a second one, which might seem a bit excessive early game because it costs a lot of scrap and a lot of wood, but water and food is one of those things that can destroy your settlement in minutes. So I don't mind if they don't build this immediately, but I do want it built sometime before the drought. Okay, the scrapyard is ready. Oh, I did set the area, yep. So now I need to give it people. I have 4 available. I'm going to use 2 scrap collectors, because I'm still collecting a little bit of scrap from my settlers. I still have a few herbs, so that's good. Their average health is good. And they have 4 different varieties of food. A lot of variety, it's harder for them to get sick. They're not happy or unhappy, which is okay. I'm not in a rush to make them happy. And here you're gonna see that question mark that it needs more scrap. What are you guys collecting? You're reallocating resources, you're bringing water. And you're bringing water into the bus. So you can tell the bus when you don't want it to store specific things. Soon I'll tell them to not store anything in the bus because I don't want them to utilize this space. I definitely want the forest lodge to be built. And while our people are taking care of business, here we have our game logs. So I want to... What do I not want to see? This is just events of what's happening. That's okay. I'm not too worried about that. This is buildings complete. Not too worried about that. This is telling me about people becoming adults. I want to see the death. That's what the real problem is. When people start dying or when you start hearing a sound like a heartbeat, you know you're in trouble. And you only have a few moments to do something before they all die. And litter your street. So when you select the building, you can see its workers where they are. So this line over here, the dotted line, this worker from the scrapyard goes over there to pick the scrap, and he needs to bring it all the way down here. If I wanted, I could build a storage place right next to it, so they take it from the scrapyard into it. If I build one up here, though, they will not take it into the storage. They need to bring it back to the building of origin. Well, not the building they started from. It's just the way the logic works in the game. Took a little bit to get used to, but yes. So what are we missing here? We're missing resources. Well, we're not really missing them. They just haven't built them yet. Okay, the forester is ready. I will have him as cut and reforest. And I'm only going to give it one. I have a lot of wood at the moment. So I'm not too worried, but this won't last long. The more you build... Also, you will see that we have no children. So, no children means no population increase. Things will remain a little bit stable until we build the houses. So if I look at my consumption for last season... Food looks positive. From what we consume. So we consume almost 260 pieces of fish and we produce 440, which is good. Which seems to be a thing... So 260 almost with 15 people. Yeah, it's around... Let's say 300 just to round it down. So about 20 per person. Unless they ate something else that I did not see here, but yes. Water. We did not produce enough. And that's not because we cannot produce enough, it's because we have no storage for it. So, guys, can we build this? And also, I told them to build the roads, so they're not going to touch the buildings until the roads are ready. So be mindful of that if you try to use that little chains. So my first goal is by at least season 10 to have the houses ready, and then I will transition into building an industrial area. And they don't seem to follow a logic around what they collect. I think it's just randomized what is within range. So let's see what this... Not Albert. Let's look at the person who works on the scrapyard. Mariam. So she is now a fisher. She is transferring resources from the bus wreck into the scrapyard. Yes, he's moving scrap from the scrapyard into the bus wreck to store it. And now she is relaxing. Because she cannot go fishing during the drought. So here is where we start playing around with the population. We remove the fishers during the drought because there is no point. Same with the water carriers, and we utilize them elsewhere. Just so we can get things going. Then we will reallocate them. Unfortunately, the game is not that great in auto-reassigning tasks. So you have to manually manage a lot of that early on. So this will temporarily boost our scrap collection, which is what we want. We want to clear this stuff and reclaim this building space and empty this. Something else. Production limits. So our guys will keep collecting scrap until we reach 500. If we reach 500, they will stop. So they will just sit there and do nothing. We don't want that. So we're going to increase our scrap storage to about 1,000. And same with our forester lodge. Now 1,000 might be a lot early game, but it really is not. Because if they stop producing, other things start bottlenecking, and when your production starts going down, everything goes bad. Very, very bad. The drought is almost over. So we didn't collect any water this season, and we're still standing strong, which is great. And we're still doing good on food as well. So when I see the water return, I'm going to reassign the fishers, and then I'm going to move a few more people into water carrying. Scarce resource tools, we're running out of tools, which will decrease our productivity significantly. And I better start prioritizing a few of these houses. I need some children. So give me this, you go here, take 2 scrap collectors away and put them as water carriers, and that should be tolerable for now. Autosave. And you will see that this turned into green immediately because it's like, yay, now we have a house. When they have a house, Archie and Pauline, they're going to make children. 3 of them. I'll just get these ones done. So by season 10, we will be ready to start working on other things. And these will bypass their priority of doing the roads. Wait, is that called Jill? Okay, well, apparently the rabbit is called Jill. And if you look around, the animals, they are mutated from the radiation. But when we tame them, because we get to tame them later on, they turn into a more normal variant? I don't know if normal is the right word. And yes, their confidence is going up. So that's enough for 8. So I will allow for a few children. How are these guys doing? Good. They collected a lot of stuff. Now they're working on this ones up here. A tank. And they will probably leave these 2 for last, just to be difficult. Come on, guys. Build faster. So for the first probably milestone, which is 75 seasons, I'll maintain the population around 100. We'll see how we go in terms of how much workers we need, but my goal for the time being is around 100. And now they're finishing the last building, the last cabin. And before we wrap up this episode, let's have a quick look. So the local attractiveness at the moment is 0, so they are okay with it. They're not unhappy, but they're not super happy either. The buildings that give negative influence, the Forester Lodge and the Scrapyard, is far away, so we don't need to worry about that. And if we get a random person, like this one, if I manage to click on them, Tyler, and we look on their confidence, we can see what gives them positive and negative effects. So the first thing over here is, does he have a dueling? Yes, he does, but he's not allocated to it yet. And what is the one for decoration? So that's, settler lives in an attractive surrounding. So the moment we put some decorations here, you're gonna get another +1. And it says that content settlers work or perform research faster and reproduce faster. The higher the level of contentness at birth, the older settlers will get. In the event of extreme contentness, they also move faster around the settlement. So this is the global one, but each one has their own individual. So we're gonna wrap this episode here. I'm gonna pause the game, and I'll catch you all on the next episode of this scenario. Bye bye.